everyone, to another exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I'm your host out of Alexandria, Virginia, Andrew Becker. On today's episode, we have the founder of EZ REI Closings, David Olds. Welcome, man.
Hey, what's happening? Happy to be here. Finally made the cut to get on the podcast. Super excited.
Yes, I'm very excited to have you on here. Been waiting for this one for a very long time. David, for those who might be listening who don't know you just yet, can we get a very brief 80,000 foot overview of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I've been an investor since 2002, so over 2 decades, which is a ridiculous amount of time. Excuse me. Yeah, full-time investor since 2009, but now our main business is we operate EZ REI Closings, and we're the nation's largest transaction coordination company serving investors and wholesalers across the country. And that sounds really fancy, but basically we are their back office and we do all of their paperwork. So we make sure that their deals actually close. We solve all of the complex title, curative, missing death certificates, tracking people down, deeds, all that kind of weird stuff, and make sure that the title companies do their job. So we're basically the advocate for the wholesalers to make sure that, they can grow their business. And, we take all that paperwork off their desk, Andrew, so they can focus on going out there and getting more deals. And, that's where our clients have found the most success.
Very cool. So you've been doing this for quite some time. You beat me by about 10 plus years.
A ridiculous amount of time, but
I'm sure
it feels like multiple lifetimes, I will tell you.
Yes, I'm sure you've seen a lot, as have I. And I've been only doing this for 12 years. So you have double the experience, right? But David,
too dumb to quit.
You mentioned you take the back office out of operations.
Yeah. Right.
Who's your customer? Who are you working with day in and day out?
Yeah. So, we're primarily looking at people who are, wholesalers. We do have some fix and flipper, some burr type people, but the vast majority of our clients are wholesaling, and most of them are in virtual markets. They live in California and they've got a deal in, Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania. They have no idea what even the rules are there, or where the title companies are, or how they're going to get documents signed, or, any of that type of stuff. So, our ideal client is somebody who's doing 1 to 2 deals a month and is looking to grow. Right. Mm-hmm. Because there is a limit, Andrew, right? There's a limit of what one person can do running a wholesale company. I ran one here in Chattanooga up until just a couple of years ago, and we were actually nationwide. But I do know that trying to do stuff on your own, there's 24 hours in a day. Math and science tell us that we can only do that. And this is where, and certainly for me, when I was coming up, I hit this barrier where I couldn't get to 5 to 8 deals a month. I just couldn't get past that because I was trying to do everything. And that was one of the hardest lessons for me to learn as a new entrepreneur and business owner was you don't have to do everything. Honestly, you can't. We're not good at everything. There's usually something in our business that we're all amazing at, right? Every single person that runs, we're good at. Maybe it's marketing or acquisitions or dispositions, right? There's something, but it's not everything. But we're taught and we hear so much this hustle culture, work harder, you can do it, grind it out. And that is true to a point, right? Like you do have to put in the work, but the people who really succeed, and the reason, that my company was able to, get to over 7 figures and be in 28 markets when we were wholesaling was I realized the power of bringing in other people who were better than me, to be honest with you. And now my whole team, we talked about it the other day, and my team is all smarter than me, every single person, but they're all specialists in one area, whether it's websites or operations or go high level or, video production or whatever it is. And when you bring people in like that, and transaction coordinators and bookkeepers and property managers, things like that, well, then you're able to really focus on the things that you're great at, the things that get you jazzed up, the things that when you put your feet on the floor in the morning, you're like, yes, I am ready to go to the office. It's not, crap, I got to go into QuickBooks and reconcile some receipts. That sounds like the worst thing ever, at least for me. So I have a great bookkeeper that does all that type of stuff. So that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned. And, once I figured that out, that was when I had just astronomical growth in my company.
Yeah, I love that approach. I mean, leveraging the right people in the right seats is how you grow and scale eventually. Yeah. So you're not holding all the hats. And you mentioned earlier your typical, customer or avatar doing about 1 or 2 deals. And I imagine they grow bigger and better as they move along. But how important is it to be able to pass off the low-hanging fruit, not low-hanging fruit on important stuff, but the administrative, the documentation, the follow-ups with something as important as getting it from contract to closing, and that frees them up to do, the high level revenue generating stuff. What are you seeing as
it's incredibly important, and that's a question I get a lot. And for us, I have clients that do 40 deals a month. I have clients who do one deal every 3 months. And, here's what I hear all the time. Basically the same story. People have been with us 30 or 45 days and they're, they get it. They're in there. They understand how to work with us and how we can help them. And the first thing I hear is, oh my God, David, I had no idea how much time I was spending on this. Like I was spending 25, 30% of my time answering emails, chasing down title, calling the seller back, getting death certificates and affidavits and all of this stuff. And the other thing is, man, I didn't realize somebody else could do this for me. This is the greatest thing ever, which is why we have such a high retention rate. Because once people get that off their plate, they realize, holy shit, this is amazing. It's like having someone come in and clean your house. You're like, no, I like cleaning my house. You have somebody come in and change your sheets once a week and clean your bathroom and stuff. You're like, you know what? I really didn't love doing that stuff after all. And
This feels
now
much better.
yeah, now I have time to go do the things that I like to do, right? So now for me, once, I hired Heather, who's now my COO, she was my first real transaction coordinator years and years ago. Now I was able to focus on my dispositions and the marketing, right? I was able to go do the things that I actually enjoyed and pour myself into that and really fine tune that and, make that just absolutely shoot up off the charts. So, scaling is not always about, and this is something people get confused. And I have seen people run their company into the ground with this, is they think they can just completely step away because they put somebody, maybe in a spot where that's taking over some of their responsibility. But the real thing is, and this is how we always approach it, is once I put somebody in, now that other person, can do a better job and go deeper on the things they're supposed to be doing, So it's never, wholesaling isn't a business where you can just be disconnected. I've seen people crash, you know, companies that were doing $3-4 million a year by buying into this. I'm going to get into the owner's box and I'm only going to go in once every 2 weeks. And it destroys itself in 90 days. You have
Yeah.
to be involved. But the way that you grow and the way that you scale and make your life easier is by bringing in experts. And it's not just transaction coordinating, it's PPC. There was a day out when I was coaching dispositions. I went out to Phoenix, and a good friend of mine, Corey Geary, he was great at PPC, and he's in crypto now. But he's like, man, if you'll come train my dispo team, I'll teach you how to do PPC. So you're good at this. But I literally sat next to him with this computer right here. He was sitting here, I was sitting here, and he opens Google AdWords and he starts showing me and keywords and negative keywords. I knew 5 minutes in, 0% chance I was ever
Wasn't
going to
for you.
leave that place and doing that. I immediately went out and hired an agency. This is like 6 years ago. I'm like, 0% chance like I was going to muddle fuck my way through that it just wasn't going to work. It's not what I'm good at, you know what I mean? So I have to focus. This is the thing that entrepreneurs have to learn, is you got to focus on the stuff you're good at. Do you need to understand it? Yeah. Do I understand the basics of PPC and how it works? Of course. I can read it and look at the KPIs and the metrics and understand, so I can manage my people. Getting bogged down on stuff that you shouldn't be doing it feels good. We're hustling.
Yeah.
We're doing all the things. I've worked 14, 16 hours a day. You can't do that forever. At the end of the day, it cost me a marriage and a family and all the things. It's just not a good thing.
Right. David, I'm wondering, because one of the biggest things that I always hear from business owners I talk to, and I'm curious if you heard the same, is like giving up those responsibilities. People are like, I don't
So
know if I
hard.
can give them up,
Yeah.
like marketing and social media, TC. Like, are you running into that too when people
Yeah.
first reach out to you?
Yeah, 100%. That's why I said it takes 30 to 45 days for that trust to build, right? And that's something we talk about with our team all the time, right? Like, our clients, right? They're closing 30, 40, 50, 80, $100,000 deals, right? They have to trust that we're going to do that. So that's very important to us. But no, listen, I had that same problem in the beginning too. Like, I get it. I'm a wholesaler. I just happen to run the biggest transaction company in the country. But, even in the very beginning, I didn't want to hire VAs. My brother who worked with me, he's like, oh, we got to get these VAs. I'm like, oh man, I could just do it faster myself than training them. And and that's a scarcity mindset. I don't know what it is, right? I tell people I used to wear the control freak as a badge of honor. Like, I can do it all. Nobody's as good as me. Nobody's as smart as me. Nobody works as hard as me. And, while that's true, you can only do so much work in a day. You just now when you scale up, it's an interesting thing and it takes time, right? Everything kind of goes, you kind of hustle, you level out, you hustle, you level out. I remember when, not that long ago, we do Monday morning meetings with our team, and I was like walking into the conference room and somebody stopped me and like, hey, what are you doing? Like, going to the meeting, like, oh, this meeting isn't for you. Like, you don't have to be there. I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? I was like
Right.
Charlie Brown. I was like so dejected. I'm like, Like I
It's
guess,
definitely a weird feeling when you give that up. I remember I'm not in sales anymore, also, just like
yeah,
yourself, but when I gave up the phone, so
hmm
inbound calls
yeah,
that started going to our inside sales agents, and it was just weird because I still got the calls
right,
and I wanted so much to pick
yeah,
up every single one, but there's a time when you kind of just have to break away and say, David's good at answering the calls. Like, let him do his job. And then if you have the accountability metrics to make sure he's doing what he needs to
sure.
do, it's a game changer and your life changes for the better.
Yeah, and to be clear, the greatest book ever that changed my life was Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. If you're listening to this and you want
Love
to
that book.
scale, you have to buy that book. I listened to it on audio. It was incredible because there was like an extra chapter, an extra section in every chapter. But you think of like rings of a tree, like you cut a log, like you're the center, you're the dark spot. Every ring you go out, if you're, let's assume none of us give 100%. I don't give a shit what we all say, but let's just assume we give 100%. That next ring out, maybe they give 90%, right? The next ring out maybe gives 80, 76. So the more scaled out, right? Of course, you can work harder than somebody because you're the owner, right? Let's be for real. But but you have the power of multiplicity. Like I have 10 people working at 80%. That 80, it's like, Henry Ford did this with the production line, right? He'd rather have 100 people giving 1% than one person giving 100. That's the power of scale and leverage. You have to accept that these are real people and they've got lives and they're never going to care about your company as much as you are. But you do want people that believe in the vision, right? That like where you're going, that enjoy doing what you do, which in our case is servicing our clients, right? We're very particular about making sure that culture is there and they understand where we're going and they want to be on this journey with us.
Hmm.
Figure out people aren't a good fit, like immediately we're pulling them out of the team because we know that leaving a bad person in the team is terrible, right? It just brings everybody down. It's like a cancer, even if they're not a negative person, but they're not pulling their weight. And then we take our responsibility to our clients really serious, and I don't ever want somebody to harm them. So yeah, I mean it's a process, and to kind of go back to where it started, it takes a little bit of faith, but you have to spend time, you have to train people. A mistake I see people make a lot is, and I know I'm rambling on here, but they hire in VAs and they're like, oh, well, Jimmy Bob said these VAs are fully trained. So they're fully trained. I'm just going to throw them to the wolves and sit back and
Forget
hope for the
about them.
best.
And yeah, yeah.
No, dude, you got to treat them like anybody else. Put them on your Slack channel, communicate with them, give them feedback. Hey, this was good, but I think we can adjust it here. Like, you got to treat them just like anybody else, but you have to invest and pour into your team.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
to quote Dan Martell, and I absolutely love that book. I send it to everyone I
Hmm.
talk to that doesn't have it, and I've read it like 5 times already.
Yeah.
Getting someone to do 80% of something else is
That's it.
100% awesome.
That's
And
so
that is
great.
a mantra that it
Yeah.
really resonated with me. And
Yeah.
we have playbooks and all of the companies that we
Hmm.
run
Yeah.
around that kind of line of
Mhm.
thinking. So that's
Yeah.
great. David, kind of changing a little bit here into, your service that you provide. When someone wants to work with you guys,
Yeah.
what does that look like? Like if
Sure.
I started with you today, can you kind of like walk me through the onboarding and then like how does it work? How do we communicate?
Yeah, pretty simple. You can sign up with us and literally have 25 coordinators working for you tomorrow. Very simple. You get a couple of emails. We explain. We have some software. It's a portal. One of the things when we were starting this company, Heather and I, is because we were running a full wholesale company, and we really were starting this for a couple of our friends. I mean, of course, everybody when you start a company, you have big dreams, but we're like, oh, I've got a couple of full-time big wholesale companies that were looking for some help. We wanted to make sure again that it's kind of based on me. I'm a little bit of a dick, so like, what standard would I want to hold somebody to? So we spent a lot of money. We created a portal, which basically a CRM you can log into, and in real time you can see what the status of your deal is. It's like a Kanban type view. We've been using it way before it became popular, but you can see your deal kind of move its way across. You can click on that. You can see all the coordinator notes, all the documents. Complete transparency. So if you wake up at 2 a.m. and you're like, oh my God, what's going on with 123 Main Street? Oh, here it all is, right? So that was the first thing. We wanted to make sure there was 100% transparency. So because I need you to trust me that I'm taking care of your deal. And if I'm not successful, you're not successful, you're not going to stay with us. And we have like a 94% retention rate. So we know that that's working. Second thing was, investors. I had to make sure that all of our coordinators were trained to work nationwide. Right. Would you say you're in Virginia? Tell me again. I'm
I'm in
sorry.
Alexandria.
Alex.
Yeah, Virginia.
Okay, great. So, if you come to us and you're like, hey, I'm doing a bunch of deals in Virginia, I'm like, oh, awesome. But you may all of a sudden get a deal in Oregon. You just
Hmm.
might, right? Because that's the world we live in, and we're in a virtual world. So I didn't ever want to be like, oh, Andrew, we don't do that, right? So from
Right.
day one, we knew that we were going to be nationwide. We were going to be the only transaction coordination company that specialized in being nationwide. And the third thing was being able to handle all transaction types. Because I'm a real investor. I bought owner financing and sub two and novations and wholesale and wraps and lease options and land contracts and right. So we knew that we had to make sure our coordinators were able to do all of that stuff. Now, how do you do all that? Well, it's a lot of money, but our training process has gotten over the years very, very complex where
Hmm.
it's, for us to have a fully trained coordinator where we call them certified and they have to pass tests and do all this stuff, it takes 2 to 3 months. And they come in and it's 2 weeks of like videos and bookwork and questions and answers and tests and all that stuff. And then they sort of apprentice with a team lead because we're in team systems, and they literally sit right next to them, and they start with one deal, like the easiest deal, a wholesale deal. And they have to work their way up to being certified to where they can work on their own without having somebody else copied on every single email and all that stuff. So we take a lot of pride in that and making sure that there are people out there that call themselves TCs that took a 6-hour course and they downloaded a certificate and they call themselves, I won't say the name, but they call themselves certified. And, who do you want to trust your $40,000 deal with? Somebody who's done 9,000
Right.
transactions and over $600 million in closings, or no shade, but the stay-at-home mom who's doing 4 deals a month and, in
No, I mean it
between
makes
taking care
sense.
of her
You
kid.
just like you hire someone to do your PPC because they've been doing PPC for eight
There you
years.
go.
I think the same thing. So,
Yeah.
uh, very cool. So, just to kind of bring this full circle, what it looks like working with you all, are you
Yeah.
100% like I log into my portal,
Mm-hmm.
upload a contract, it
Drag and
notifies
drop.
me, and then I don't do anything until closing?
No.
Obviously, I'm kept in the loop, but
Yeah, 100%. And you can call, text, email, you can text through the portal. It doesn't matter to us. We give weekly updates. We have a lot of communication. So yeah, so you're going to upload your contract. Very simple, right? It's going to come to us. It gets assigned to a coordinator, and it gets assigned to a title company. The first thing that's going to happen is Claudia. She's going to pick up the phone. Hey, Mrs. Smith. My name's Claudia. I'm working with Andrew on your property over here at 123 Main Street. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to be your point of contact from here all the way to closing. I want you out. Go get your next deal. Go sell your deal. Go do your business. You don't need to do this. Are you in the loop? 100%. Great. Hey, Mrs. Smith, so I have some questions for you from the title company so I can get you paid just as quickly as possible. That's what they want. Right now, here's what 9,000 transactions does for you. For us, we see a problem coming. It's like the slow bullet in the matrix, right? Like you might miss it, or a new wholesaler might miss, oh yeah, I inherited this property, blah, 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 and that just blows right by them. To us, holy stop. Even though I've got a 4-page questionnaire, now I'm off on a new thing, right? You said inherited. Tell me what that means. Who did you inherit it from? Is the property in your name? Was it titled? Is it still in grandma's name? And now we're down this whole thing. Hey, are there any code enforcement liens against the property? You're not by chance in foreclosure, are you? The other day, well, it's probably 2 months ago, we were going through this process, which we do every single all of the 9,000 transactions. And the woman says, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. Oh, and Abby, our coordinator, is like, well, do you have any paperwork on it? Do you know when it's going to the auction? She's like, yeah, in 72 hours.
wow.
Now, Andrew, the girl who was our client had no idea. She didn't ask that question. Right. So had she just sent this off to the title company and crossed her fingers and hoped for the best, the title company would have got to it in about 4 weeks and the
Yeah.
property would have already been gone. But because she had somebody proactive on her team like us, because we were part of their team, immediately, like, Abby's like, hand up, grabs her team lead. They put 2 people on it. They spent like 20 hours over the next 3 days. They got that foreclosure postponed. And this girl was able to wholesale it and make $68,000. That $68,000 would have never materialized. It would have been gone because in 72 hours, when the title company finally got around to even looking at it, because it had a closing date of like 45 days. So they're not going to do
Mhm.
jack with it. Like that deal would have been gone. It wouldn't have happened. And it would have been just another, oh man, damn, that sucks. Another deal that didn't close. Well, if you're listening to this, how many of those deals did you have last year?
Yeah. And if you're listening
And
to this, what David just said, his expertise and his team's expertise level is removing the obstacles and knowing which obstacles to ask about and look for. And that is the difference between an amateur and a professional. So that is amazing that you're able to provide that level of service for your people. That's so cool. I love that.
so, yeah,
David,
I mean, so
if
we do lots of stuff.
someone's working with, yeah, if someone is working with you, can you talk about like the investment they make? Like, how does it work if it's just one deal or
Yeah,
volume?
yeah, yeah. We have multiple different levels. So our question when you call in for just an exploratory call is, "Hey, Andrew, tell me how many deals you're doing. Like, what are you doing? Are you doing 2 deals a month? Are you doing 10 deals a month? Are you doing 5 deals a month? Like, where are you at?" We have a couple of different levels. When we started out, we were just on a subscription model because we were mainly looking for larger wholesaling companies, and you pay a flat amount, you upload let 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, 20 to 30, whatever level you're on, you can upload as many as you want. But then, the question we got so much was newer wholesalers like, "Oh man, I'm just getting started, or I'm only doing one deal every 2 months. And is there something you could do for me?" Right. So we got so many requests. We're like, okay, yeah, let's do it where we'll let them buy one transaction. Like, and sometimes people are like, "I just want to try you. I want to see if you're as good as people say." I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. We will take that. So yeah, you can buy a single transaction at $9.97. Is it more expensive? Of course it is, because you're buying one can of Coke instead of
David, they paying up front at the back end when it
yeah,
closes? How does that work?
yeah. So they pay up front at $9.97. And then after that, we work with all the major coaches. One of the coaches with some more newer investors said, "Hey, is there some kind of way that you can just charge my people at the end, and if it doesn't close, don't charge them?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." So we did come up with our Easy Pack plan, which, yeah, you only pay at closing. If it doesn't close, no bubbles, no troubles. We're not upset. Bring us your next deal. That's $14.97. So, kind of the further down the line, it gets a little bit more expensive, depending upon how much more risk we're taking on for you. But yeah, we've got lots of plans. It can be as high as $14.97. It can be as cheap as $3.50. So just depending upon how much you want to really partner with us, and how much business you're doing.
Very
We
cool.
we obviously want to reward people that are making a big commitment, doing a lot of stuff with us, and we can get very detailed and into your business. Some of our higher levels have integrated transaction coordinators where we'll work out of your CRM. We're doing weekly Zoom calls with your team, that type of stuff, where that's different from kind of the one-off type people.
Mentioned before, I send a contract over and like
Hmm.
25 coordinators are one
Yeah.
of them signed. That higher level tier that someone's working in your CRM,
You have a
are you
dedicated
getting a
coordinator.
dedicated, like Andrew works with David and only
Yep.
David kind of?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
very cool.
And there's always a backup. So we work on a team system. We have multiple teams out there. But yeah, I mean, because let's say you work with Abby. Abby may go on vacation, but Abby always has a backup, right? So no matter what, you're always within that team, or one or two people. But yeah, yeah. And the other thing too is, what makes us different from other people is you always have one coordinator. Even on the lowest plan, you have one coordinator from start to finish, right? Because I want to make sure our goal is to get this deal closed as fast as possible. Like, I'm taking in 30 contracts a day. I got to get 30 out, right? I've got to close 30 to get 30 in, right? So like, we're literally like, I Love Lucy with the candy coming down the conveyor belt, right? Like, I've got to get old deals closed as fast as possible to make room
Yeah,
for your new deals. Otherwise, we just become so overloaded, just everything for us just would come to a halt. So their job is to push these deals through. Andrew, you got a seller, you got a cash buyer, your seller's ready to close, your buyer's got money. I don't care that it says 30 days on the contract. Close that shit today. Get it closed, get it out, get you paid. Let's move on to the next one.
right.
So
Very
there's a
cool.
very big sense of urgency for us, and that's the way our KPIs are for them. Is we're always tracking that. And we all understand how KPIs, right? Like every section along the way, we're looking at what the average time,
Hmm.
how long to call people back, how long was it in the stage, how long before it went, got to close. And we're always trying to beat the clock. How do we get it under 33 days? How do we get it to 32 days? Right. So that's always what our team and our team leads are looking at is, how do we improve efficiencies for our clients?
I love that. David, this has been very eye-opening. For those of you listening
Thank
that are
you.
like, oh my gosh, there's someone that can do this for me, and they want to talk to you and your team, David, how does one reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm sure you could drop a link or just go to EZ REI Closings and you can book a call. But here's a really cool thing. And I always forget to talk about this. We have something that we invented years ago we call it the pass through play. A lot of people have tried to copy it, but we will show you how, even whether it's 350 or 1497, I'll show you how to charge your end buyer that fee. So we basically work for you for free. Like, that's the coolest thing. Like, why would you want to continue to do this when you could have a team that's done $681 million in closings, over 9,000 transactions. You can literally pass that fee on to your buyer, and not do it, not deal with all the nonsense. It's crazy.
Passing along those types of overhead expenses
Hmm.
is an advanced concept. I love that you just brought that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll definitely drop a link to your site, David. It has been a pleasure. I had fun on yours yesterday. I'm glad that we got to do this one the next
Yeah, man,
day.
it's fun. Thank you.
So thanks for being here, man.
You bet.
All right, bye.